Hey guys, welcome to Terrifying Tales. In this video we are going to represent you a story about the guard. Have you ever loved someone so much that you wanted to keep them hidden from the world and all to yourself? Well, apparently that is known as kidnapping. Unknown, the loud music thundered the dance floor. As people moved their body to the music, people bumped into each other every so often because of the darkness of the room. I watched my best friend dance in the dim-lit room. "This is the best fun I have had in days," my best friend Esme shouts over the loud music. "That's because this is the first night in weeks that we don't have to worry about exams," I shout back to her over the loud music. "Yes, you are right," she says, nodding her head slowly. "Why am I feeling so hot?" "Maybe because we are dancing in the middle of a crowd," I say to her. "You are such a mood killer," Esme says, moving to the sound of the music. "Well, you are such a party rocker," I retort back. Esme and I are complete opposites, but you know what they say, opposites attract. I'm the type of girl who just sits and reads all. I may read all day, but I am definitely not afraid to speak my mind out loud, literally. I flip my dark brown hair over my shoulder in an attempt to stop sweating. I am 5'7" tall and am the nobody knows her name but have seen her around at school. I was given to an orphanage after I was born. After that, nobody adopted me. So basically, I'm an orphan. I have been working part-time at a local coffee shop since I was 13 to earn money for university, and when I get kicked out the orphanage, which is tomorrow because I turned 18 today. I know sucks to be an orphan, but you know what they say, if life was easy, then where would all the adventures be? Emma moves her tall body to the beat, her blonde hair waving around wildly. Emma is what people nowadays like to call perfect. She has perfect grades, she has loving parents, she's rich, and she gets attention from all the boys at school. The only bad part about her life is little old me. I had told Emma plenty of times to ditch me and go to the popular group, but every time I asked her, she told me that best friends don't ditch each other. After a while, I just gave up. "I am going to sit down," I shout in Emma's ear. "Why? We've only been dancing for a few minutes. We've been in the club for more than 3 hours. I wipe away the sweat that is on my forehead. "Well, if we are going to be sitting down, we might as well get a drink," she says, turning around and pushing through the crowd. After finally getting away from the crowd, we walk to the bar. "2 vodkas, please," Esme says to the bartender. I blink my light brown eyes slowly, trying to adjust to the bright light above us. "Here you go, ladies," the bartender says, putting 2 shots down in front of us. "Thanks," we both mutter to him. "1, 2, 3, we say, pulling the glass to the tip of my mouth, drinking the contents down no matter how much it burned. "You want one more?" "I want to have one more, but I have to go now," I say, standing up. I have to grip the table to steady myself. "Do you have to?" she asks, pouting. "Yes, you know the curfew is 12 o'clock at the orphanage, and this is my last night there, so I want to make the best of it," I say. She cocks an eyebrow in response, telling me she doesn't fully believe me. "I also have the early shift at work tomorrow, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for drinking. Just blame it all on me," she says with a smirk on her face. "It is not like I will see them again." "You're right. I've got to go now, bye," I shout to her over the loud music. "Wait." Esme holds my hand, preventing me from going. "What?" I ask curiously. I tilt my head to the side, confused to why she is holding my hand. "Are you going to be all right?" Esme asks me in a concerned voice. This has always been something I liked about Esme. No matter what the situation, she always makes sure I will be all right. "I will be fine. I have to go now, bye," I say as Esme lets go of my hand. "Bye," she shouts, giving me a smile that I return back. I go to the lockers and get my black coat them from. I snuggle into the warmth of the coat as I walk down the cold streets. Slowly, the loud music started to fade away, and then it went completely silent. I decided I was too tired to take the long way, so I took the shortcut, even though I've been told like a trillion times not go as you could kidnapped. It's not like I'll get kidnapped, right? I mean, it's only one time, and it's been on my bucket list to go since I was told for the first time. But it never said you needed to go alone. I ignored the thought and decided keep on going. I was keeping a brave act, but inside I felt like a kidnapper would jump any corner and kidnap me, or even worse, kill me. "Stop thinking rubbish," I scolded to myself. "It's not rubbish when you know it is true." I decide to distract myself from my overactive imagination and look around to see that everything is peaceful and quiet. It is kind of spooky if you ask me. The only noise you can hear is the sound of dogs barking from far away. Just as I am turning into the corner towards the orphanage, I hear loud shouts and fists colliding into bodies. I keep quiet and took a sneak peek, which I regret immediately, because I see 5 men standing there with 3 bodies scattered around, and one of men twists the man's neck, which caused the person's head to fall onto the ground. As if on cue, I scream bloody loud. I don't know I am screaming till I see all of them staring at me. All of the guys are good-looking, but one of the men catches my eye. He has black tousled hair and bloodshot red eyes that will scare away any person but just seem to lure me more into him. You can see his strong jawline. He is very tall. He has a very visible six-pack through his black t-shirt. You can see his muscles ripple through his t-shirt. His black pants that hung low on his hips and black shoes just made him look more dangerous and sexy. If I am in my right state of mind, I will have probably run, but I can't take my eyes off him. There is a small scar on his right arm, but other than that he is perfect. When I get enough courage to look up, I get an involuntary shiver throughout my body when I stare into his blood-red eyes. I didn't expect to be lost in them, like a trance spell. It is as if everything around us stopped for a moment. It seems as if it was only the two of us. It seemed as if I am attached to him by an invisible rope. I know he is dangerous by the way he had twisted the man's neck, but you know what they say, whatever you can't have, you want to have it more than anything. I try to take my eyes off him but just can't make myself do it. There is blood dripping from his nose, but suddenly it isn't bleeding anymore. I wonder how that happened. We kept on looking. I see him breathe in deeply, then I heard him say a word that changed my whole life. Everything is frozen. You can't hear the dogs barking or the sound of the slight breeze. Mine, he says into the silent night. As if magic, it seemed to echo everywhere. His voice is husky and deep but holds power that gives me goosebumps throughout my body. Suddenly it hit me what he had just said, and I wanted to shout to him that I am nobody's. Whatever trance I am in, I slowly came out of it. I think of all the ways of getting out of this situation, and there is only one way out: running for your life. I slowly walk backwards, watching them, and just when one of them turns their neck to look behind them, I turn fully around and run as fast as I can to the orphanage. I keep on running, but start getting breathless after a few seconds. Damn, I should have taken athletics more seriously. I turn around to see how far behind they were but see no one. I mean, it's not like they can just disappear, right? I turn back around and see 4 of the guys blocking the way. I again for the third turn around to go back the way that I just came from, but I bump into a hard chest. Arms wrap around my waist holding me in place. It brings tingles through my whole body. How the heck did he get here? Don't ever run away from me again, mate, he whispers to me. The way he says mate makes me feel like it is supposed to belong there. I try to say but get cut off when I feel one of his rough hands press against the pressure point on my neck. I feel him press it harder, making me squeal in pain. Ow! I know that within minutes I would be passed out. I try to squirm away from his tight hold, but it is like a death grip. Slowly I feel dizzy and get a headache. I turn around to see 8 guys. There is 2 of each guy. I must be seeing doubles. I can feel myself falling slowly asleep. I try for the last time to get away by using my weak hands to punch his hands away from neck and try to hit his knee, but I just end up hurting myself. I slowly feel myself slipping away. Thankfully he is holding me, otherwise I will have probably fallen on my knees. I myself am falling off to asleep. I try my best to not fall asleep, but you know what they say, when you got to sleep, you got to sleep. Just before I went asleep, I mutter to myself, I am no one's dream. It was dark and there was mist by the floor. I squint my eyes so that I could see on the dark room. With my squinted eyes, I could see 2 figures there, but I couldn't see their faces. I walked forward slowly, until I saw one of the figures holding a small baby in its hands. He passed the baby to the other figure. I saw a glimpse of its face and saw that its face was black. I looked closer and saw that the baby must be 2 or 3 years old. We have to give her away, one of the figures whispered. The voice was rough and deep with a dark edge. Because of this, it sounded like a man. Why? We could always use her for revenge, the other figure holding the baby whispered back. No, we can't. They are stronger than us, and because we have their daughter, they will kill us without a second thought, the voice whispered back. What if we give her away but still keep an eye on her? I felt a small leap of fear in my heart for the girl. My thoughts were jumbled around like an incomplete puzzle. As I tried to figure out what they were talking about, I looked at the baby girl, whose eyes were red from all the crying. What are you trying to say? What I am trying to say is that we let her go, but we don't at the same time. I furrowed my eyebrows in confusion. What did he mean by that? We will get caught, the man said in a hushed tone. Not if we have a witch on our side, the person replied back, and moved his head so that it was in the light. He laughed loudly, giving me a shiver of fear throughout my body. I wake up to loud voices and things crashing. It sounds like metal. I open my eyes slowly to unfamiliar surroundings. I blink my eyes rapidly, trying to take away the blurriness that was in my eye. Where am I wonder? And just like that, last night's events came crashing down to me. I was kidnapped by a sexy god, a voice in my head says. I shake my head, trying to get rid of the voice that is telling the truth about how I am feeling. It is true, and you know it is, the voice says again. Ignoring the voice, I quietly get up and look around the room. It is very dark, so I can't see much. All I can see is an old wooden chair and old wooden table. On the table, there were glass pieces that looked like it used to be a mirror. I look around to see if there are any windows, but all I see is an old-fashioned door. There are pictures hanging by the door of a young, smiling couple with a baby. The picture was in black and white. It looks like it is probably more than a decade old. I walk to the old wooden door silently, and the loud voices seem to get louder. I try to open the door quietly, but the door just has to creak. It is like they have super hearing because suddenly it is very quiet. I try to walk back to the bed, but his voice stops me. "I know you are awake," he says. I slowly turn around to see the guy from yesterday that said mine. He is without a shirt, and he is only wearing gym pants, making him look hotter than he already is. He just couldn't stop getting sexier, could he? "You know you love it," that voice in my head again says. "Shut up," I reply back, annoyed by how true the voice is. I look around the room to see it was old-fashioned like the door. It really must be old because everything is made out of wood. "Are you done looking around, or do you still want to sightsee?" he snaps rudely, making my mood damper worse than it already is. "What do you want from me? Listen, if you let me go, I won't tell anyone about what I saw. I swear," I say to him, making my voice sound as believable as possible. He laughs coldly and says with a smirk, "As much as that sounds tempting, I can't let you go knowing other people will never mind." I know from his attitude that he wasn't going to be nice, so I change the subject. "Where am I?" I say, waving my hand around the room. "Somewhere where nobody can find you," he says, his eyes staring intently at me as if trying to— "You already know," he says in his monotone voice. I know by his short answers that he wasn't going to give any evidence, so why not go with another technique? "Trust, what's your name?" I ask suddenly, curious to know my kidnapper's name. "I was wondering when you were going to ask my name." "I'll tell you my name if you tell me yours first," he says to me. "No, fine then, I guess you won't know my name." "Fine, my name is Amelia." "You're lying," he says, sighing. "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." "No," I snap back at him, getting irritated. He walks towards until his face is above my ear, his mouth right above my ear, if they were on my lips. "What? No, stop thinking about that, Arielle." "Your name," he says, the corner of his mouth touching my ears. I shudder at the closeness. "Sarah," I reply, gritting my teeth to try and forget how close we are. "Let me rephrase that. Your real name, and don't bother lying to me because you will be sorry," he says. His face moves until he is inches away from me. He leans in slowly, and just when I think he is going to kiss me, he pulls away and takes a few steps back. "Name," he says with a smirk that looks like someone just won a lottery. "Fine," I grunt. "It's Arielle." "Well, Arielle, my name is Ace." Just the way my name rolled off his tongue brought shivers down my spine, and his name just made me want to fall on my knees. "Told you you'd fall for him," my inner voice says to me. "I have not fallen for him. I was just in shock from the closeness," I reply, trying to defend myself. "Whatever you say, young one," she says, confusing me even more. I try to ask her what she means, but she doesn't reply, so I just sigh in submission, to which Ace raises an eyebrow too. "What?" I asked, wondering why he was making that face. "Nothing, you just keep surprising me, that is all," he says, shaking his head. "I don't know why you kidnapped me. I mean, I have never committed a crime or played against the rules," I try to say, but am cut off. "It is not about all the wrong things you have done. It's a silent agreement between you and me." "When do I get to hear this silent agreement?" I ask curiously. "Later." Ace leans forward until I can feel his breath against my cheek. He leans in slowly. I feel his breath on my face. When our lips are just about to touch, I ask the question that keeps coming up in my head. "Why did you kill the guy last night?" I ask Ace. After I say that, Ace abruptly stands up. His body is rigid like last night when he called me his. I stare at him and see his eyes turn black. In just a few seconds, he has me pinned against the bed with my arms above my head, his huge arms holding my tiny muscle-less arms. I feel a new leather of fear coming through my whole body. I start to sweat from fear of what he is going to do to me. "You should be thanking me, because if hadn't kidnapped you that night, he would have, and he wouldn't be treating you as well as me," he says, and with that he walks to the door. Just before he went out the door, he says, "Don't bother trying to run away, you won't get anywhere." With that, he closes the old door with a loud thud, making it shake from the force and making me cringe from the sound. It has been 1 hour after he left, and I have been in my room the whole time. Many questions are roaming in my head like, why does he hate me so much? Why did he kidnap me? Why is he so secretive? What was he doing that night in the Ally? What did he mean by other people would have kidnapped me? Why did he almost kiss me? I didn't know any of the answers to that, but I know that I was going to find out sooner or later. I touch my lips and wonder about how it will feel like to have his lips won mine. The sound of a bird chirping outside making me snap out of my love-struck daze. I look down at myself and see that I am still wearing the same dress for 2 days ago. I haven't had a shower for 2 days, and the side effects of that could be clearly seen. I feel so dirty. My coat is hanging on the hook by the door. Suddenly my stomach growls loudly. I try to ignore the growl, but it growls again. I sigh and get up. I try to step forward, but I just fall on my bed with a thud. I stretch my legs, waiting for the blood to flow throughout my body. Once I am sure I will not fall, I get up, this time carefully. I use the head of the bed as a support and slowly get up. Once I am up, I stand in one place for some time until I am sure will not fall again. I walk slowly to the door and turn the knob, expecting it to be locked, but surprisingly, it is open. I feel a sudden rush of excitement rush through me. I keep my head out first to see if any was around, and luckily nobody was there. I quickly went to the kitchen to see it was quite modern compared to the living room and bedroom. I searched through all the enormous cupboards to see if there was anything I liked. As I search, I notice that almost all the cupboard are full. How much do these people eat? I didn't want them to know I was here, so I take 2 slices of bread and quickly put some chocolate spread on it. I eat the bread and have a glass of water when I realize the house is very quiet. Too quiet for someone to be in the house. As if my life depended on it, I run to the door as fast as I can. Let me rephrase that my life did depend on it. I try to open the door knob, and surprisingly, it opens without any difficulty. Why did they kidnap? I look around to see if I can see cameras or anything that is suspicious, but I find nothing. I exhale loudly and open outside. I see 5 shirts spread across the front yard. All t-shirts are crumbled and spread across the field. Weird, what could have been so important that they had to take out their t-shirts in a hurry? They could be playing volleyball, and without shirts on a winter's morning makes so much sense, I reply back. I look up to the sky to see lots of birds flying in a circle. I look back down and look at my surroundings to see tall trees everywhere. We are in a forest, I think to myself. No, hey, we are in Los Angeles, surrounded by tall buildings. Of course we are in a freaking forest. Stupid human, you don't have to be so mean, and I am not stupid. I'm not being mean, I'm just stating the obvious. Unlike you, why am I even thinking about this when Ace and the other boys could come back right now? With that thought, I run for my life. I keep on running straight. I didn't stop once. I feel a blast of energy rush through my veins. Just when I think I am out of their reach, I heard a rustle of leaves. I freeze. Suddenly I turn around slowly to see a brown color wolf with black eyes. It is no normal wolf. The wolf was almost as tall as me. I slowly take step backwards, my energy slowly turning into fear. I turn around and start running as fast as I could. But before I can go more than 3 more steps, the wolf jumps and grabs my shirt, making a hole in it. I scream loudly, not scared that Ace or any of his friends can hear me. The wolf growls at me and advances towards me. But just before something can happen, another wolf jumped on the wolf. This time the wolf is a light brownish color, and it is as tall as me. I feel arms wrap around my waist, causing me to scream again. The person quickly puts his hand on my mouth, causing sparks to fly. I immediately know who it is because only one person can do that, and that one person was Ace. I stop screaming to let him know that I am not going to scream again. He keeps his hand on my mouth till he is sure I will not scream again. He puts his arms under my knees and carries me bridal style back to the house. I don't know why, but in his arms I felt safe, like home. Something I haven't felt in a long time. Just thinking of it brought back memories. Did Esme miss me? Did she call the police? Did anybody at the orphanage miss me? I forget about all the things I am missing, like complaining about how the weather today is making sweat like mad, or gossip about what my maths teacher was wearing today. I think about all the things I could be doing right now. I feel hot tears pour down my face, which made me realize I am crying. I look up at Ace's eyes through my wet eyelashes and see sympathy in his eyes. Who would have thought a guy like Ace would have some sympathy? The sound of Ace's voice brings me back to reality. Shush, princess, nothing is going to happen to you. You are going to be all right. Those simple words make me calm. It feels weird that the one simple word can make me feel completely calm, like a spell. We walk the rest of the way to the house in silence. Occasionally he will whisper soothing words to calm me, and he will wipe the tears that keep on following one after the other. I know I am in deep trouble for trying to run away, but I also realize something else. My kidnapper saved me from the wolves. How can such a dangerous person give you so much comfort? He could have left me there and let the wolves eat me apart, limb by limb, but he chose to risk his life for me. Me, out of all people. Weird, right? Nobody would do that unless they cared for them. Ace couldn't care about me, could he? Stop talking nonsense, I told my inner voice. Maybe he just saved me because he felt sorry for me. I'm right. He just risked his whole life to save a girl he felt sorry for. That's totally normal, right? Sure, my inner voice says to me. Why am I even talking to you? You are inside of me. I getting crazy, am I not? Time will tell, Arielle. It is Arielle. I wake up to the sound of hushed voices. You have got to tell her or else she will keep on running away, one of the voices spoke. No, what if she rejected me? No, I will not tell her, and that's the end of this discussion. A deep voice said, who I recognized as Ace. His voice held something that the others didn't have. Authority? I slowly open my eyes to a bright light. I quickly close my eyes, and the princess is finally awake. Do not call me princess. Where am I? I mutter and slowly open eyes using my hand to shield the light. You, my dear darling, are in house arrest until further notice. I look at the guy that spoke and raise my eyebrows at him questionably. Fine, let's go with the boring version. Yesterday you tried to run away, but when you were in the forest, you encountered with a wolf, then Ace came and rescued you. Okay, well thanks Ace, I say smiling at him. I then remember that I was kidnapped by him, so I turn my smile into a scowl. Ace stares into my eyes but averts his gaze when he raises his right hand and smacks the guy that had spoken before. What was that for? He says, rubbing his now aching neck. You know what it was for, Ace says, and with that I see Ace give him another smack but this time harder than the one before. Okay, I get it, could you stop hitting my neck like a mother does to her son, he says, massaging the back of his neck. I will keep doing that until you stop being a little child and grow up, Ace replies back. I sit up on my bed to see Ace glaring at the boy. I smile at them. Stop it, it's just morning. You know, the calm part of the day, he says. I stifle a laugh at his immature behavior. What? Ace asks me, turning his head to look at me. Nothing, I say back, blushing slightly at everybody's stares. What? Is there something on my face? I ask irritably. Someone's not a morning person, a guy says. He has dark brown hair. He was one of the guys from the night when I was kidnapped. He's about 6'1" tall, he has to have a six-pack, and you can see his muscles. Now that I think about Ace had the most muscles. It's not morning, I say back. Maybe it is. First, why would the light be on then and you can see the sun through the curtain? I say back in a bored tone. That comment just makes him shut up. What are your names? I ask, tired of calling them tall guy and the guy on the left of Ace. I'm Jason, the tall guy says, looking at me with his bright blue eyes. I'm Chris, the guy on the left says in an unknown accent. I'm Sean, the guy who was hit earlier by Ace say. My name is Grayson, a guy with perfectly combed hair says. I look towards Ace waiting for his reply but he just keeps quiet. I turn my head back to the guys. Cool. So do you think I can talk to Ace? I say randomly, and when the guys didn't move an inch I continued, alone. Oh right, sorry. We'll be on our way, Sean says. Don't do anything PG-13, I will be keeping an eye on you both, Jason says, making me roll my eyes. And with that they all leave. For a few minutes both of us do not speak a word, it was just silence. Not awkward silence but comfortable silence. Thanks for saving me, I say after a few minutes, turning my head towards him. No problem. I would do anything for you, even if it means risking my life, he says sincerely as if he actually cared about me. But if he did care about me, then why kidnap me? Well, we are in a room together, alone. What better way to find out? Do you like me? I mean, did you kidnap me because of how I look? I ask, suddenly curious to the way he is acting. Ace seemed hesitant to answer. No, I don't. Why? He asks. Because I wanted to know why you kidnapped me, I reply back easily. I wait in anticipation for his answer so that I can stop thinking of all the theories. I stare at him, not caring if I am being rude. Because we risk you would tell someone what you saw, he says angrily, and with that he walks out the door slamming it loudly. I don't know why, but something inside me broke to hear him say that. I take deep breaths and tell myself that I can't believe I actually fell for his act to care for me. I tell myself that he probably only saved me to kill me himself. I can't believe I let him touch me. I can't believe I actually thought he cared for me. The worst feeling is when someone makes you feel special and then suddenly leaves you hanging there and you have to act like you don't care. By Anonymous, I don't know how long I have been curled up in a ball and crying. Seconds turn to minutes, minutes turn to hours, hours turn to days, and days turns into, well, we will just have to wait and see how long I am stuck here. It has only been a few hours since Ace had left. I keep telling myself that he is just a guy that kidnapped me, but my emotions just muddle up even more. I am confused and scared to these intense emotions I have towards Ace. My mind is swirling around in circles trying to come with a solution, but all I get is nothing. I look around the room trying to find something that can help me escape, but all I can see is walls. I see a door by the old cabinet. I get out of the bed and walk to the door slowly, trying to not make any noise. When I reach the door I turn the knob slowly, but it does not budge. I sigh and walk back to the bed, exhausted of doing nothing but crying. I get under the covers and look at the cream-colored ceiling. I sigh again, this time of not knowing when I am going to be released, if I am ever going to be released. My eyelids become heavy and yawn passes my lips. I close my eyes to be welcomed into the world of darkness. I wake up to the sound of loud thunder. I flutter my eyes open to see Jason, Grayson, Sean, Chris all looking down at me. Slowly, one by one they pull back. I pull myself up into a sitting position to see them better. All of them have wet hair, which tells me that they were in the rain recently. "How are you feeling?" Chris asks me. "Why do you care? I mean, aren't you supposed to be a mean, bossy kidnapper who kidnaps teenage girls for their own entertainment?" I say with rage. A sudden course of fury goes through me. If they had not kidnapped me, then I would not be her. Then they will not need to bother about me. Don't try to make me warm up to you, and then you break me in the end. I will not fall for it, I say with tears running down my face. I wipe them angrily, disappointed in myself to let them see me crying, the vulnerable side of me. My emotions quickly turn around, and I am now angry at myself for not hiding my tears. I am angry at myself for letting my anger get the best of me. "Arielle, just please listen to me," Sean starts to say, but I cut him off. "Please just leave," I say, bringing my knees up to my chest. "Fine, we will leave, but just so you know, there is food and water over there. I suggest you eat it now, otherwise it will become cold," Jason says, pointing to the table that has a plate of food with a glass of water beside it. "And if you need anything, just call out for us. We won't hurt you, Arielle." With that, all of them file out the room, but not before giving me sympathetic looks. I scrunch my eyebrows in confusion. Why are they giving me sympathy when they are the ones that kidnapped me? I take a deep breath, trying to calm my emotions. After a few seconds, my anger slowly goes away. I walk to the table and slowly eat the food, savoring every taste. Once I am finished, I walk back to the bed, sit down. "Dream, Your Majesty, I'm proud to announce that the future royal is a girl," the doctor said, holding up the baby. They looked like they were in a hospital. The woman brushes her dark brown hair from her face. Her brown eyes look down at the child, the corner of her lips curling up into a small smile. The young woman on the bed had tears running down her face. The man that was standing beside the bed also had tears in his eyes, but he kept them in. The light snores of the baby filled the quiet room. A man beside the woman bends down to take the baby from her arms. As the man lifts the baby and gives the baby to the woman, the man's brown hair, curly hair falls covers his face. She cuddled the baby closer to her body and said in a whisper, "Welcome to this world, princess," but she is cut off by someone shaking me awake. I quickly open my eyes, my body alert. My eyes meet to the familiar red eyes looking at me intently. I take a deep breath in to calm my emotions that had yet again out of control. We both stare at each other for a while. The moment is peaceful but is abruptly broken when Ace takes his eyes away from mine. "Get up, we need to get out of here," he says with anger. My eyes widen from the tone of his voice. "Why, what's wrong?" I started to say, but I was cut off as he rips the covers off me and carries me bridal style to the Jeep that is waiting for us. Everyone was already in the car and kept on looking backwards and sidewards. When we get into the car, the first thing I notice is that they all of them are tense. The next thing I find out was that there was no place for me, so not even bothering to ask me, Ace puts me on his lap. I look around the car to see that Jason is driving and Grayson is in the passenger seat. Jason starts the car and we drive into the forest. As there is no road, the car is going up down from the broken leaves and branches. Even with all the bumping, we are going in a fast speed. Then it hits me that I didn't know where we are going. I never did. But that does not mean I cannot find out. "Where are we going?" I ask, looking around the car. Nobody answers. "Where are we going?" I ask with more authority. I ask one more time, "Can somebody please tell me, where are we going?" I say, my voice rising by every word. Ace then suddenly grips my arm tightly and says, "Just shut up for once, will you? Why are you doing this? You can just take me back to the alley, and then you will not need to worry about me." I try reason. "Shut up," Ace says slowly. A shiver passes through me from the tone of his voice. I close my mouth shut. My chance of going back just went lower than before. I don't say anything else. I didn't know what to say. I could probably think of a good comeback, but I am afraid of what Ace will do to me. Sean tries to reason with Ace that it is not my fault and that I am just curious, but Ace gets even more mad and makes his grip on my arm even tighter than before. I open my mouth to tell Ace that he is hurting me, but I am cut off when a loud snap is heard from my arm. Hope is a dangerous and oftentimes lethal expectation. Everybody's head turns toward me. Then they look at my arm. Silence fills the air. Each one of us is tense, not knowing what to say. Ace loosens his hold on my arm. I try to lift my arm, but all I feel is numbness. At first I think this is because there was no blood flow, but that changes when I feel it. Out I say, breaking the silence. Tears form in my eyes from the sudden pain in my arm. My mind screams at me to not cry, but my body does not listen. The tears slowly drop down my cheeks as the pain worsens. I press my tightly lips together to prevent the sobs that are trying to escape my lips. Arielle, are you all right? Grayson asks me, turning around from the front seat to look at me. His eyes hold concern, something I needed a lot of right now. No, I think I broke my arm. I try to bring up my arm to shadow, but all I do is hurt myself even more. My heart beats wildly against my chest as I realize that Ace has broken my arm. I suddenly feel more scared of him. I wanted to move as far away from him as possible, but I couldn't. I didn't know what to think of Ace. I know that I should be thankful that he saved my life, but at the same time I wouldn't have tried to run away if he hadn't kidnapped me. We'll take you to a hospital, but you will have to wait for an hour or two, Sean replies, turning his head to give me an apologetic smile. What? I ask, gasping in pain when I touch it slightly. I said, Sean starts to say, but was cut off as Ace spoke to him. She heard you, Sean. She was saying that because of shock. I know, and you should say sorry to her. I mean, she is your ma, Sean again starts to say, but was cut off as Jason cut him off. What Sean is trying to say is that you should say sorry to her. You did break her arm. Fine, I am sorry. Happy? Ace says, sarcastically looking at Jason and Sean. My heart breaks a lack of concern he is giving me. Very, Sean and Jason say together, making them creepy. So I heard this new show was on, Sean starts to say, but suddenly everything around me got dizzy, and then I feel like I am in the middle of a storm. But before my mind can even tell me to scream for help, I get pulled into a flashback. Welcome to this world, Arielle, the lady said, looking down at her newborn child. She had this look on her face that you see that she already loved a child very much. Mom, one boy who looked around the age of came in. The boy must be their older child, because he looked a lot like his mother. Before the mom could even say anything, a nurse came into the room. Is she my little sister? The boy that looked like 9 asked. Yes, she is, Aiden, his father said, getting up from the sofa. Can I carry her? The other twin that had dark brown hair asked. Yes, but you need to sit on the bed properly, the man said. Okay, the boy quickly sat on the bed comfortably. He stretched his arms forward, waiting for the baby to be in his arms. The lady slowly took Arielle out of her arms, and as she was handing the Arielle to the boy, they all disappeared. What happened? Why did they all suddenly disappear? Wake up, we have reached the hospital, I hear someone whisper into my ear. I open my eyes to see that I am still in the car, but we are not moving. I look around but cry out in pain as I feel pain shot through my arm. I remember the earlier events, and slowly I get up, careful to not move my hand too much. Come on, Ace says. He picks me bridal style through the hospital doors and into the emergency room. When we reach there, the doctor put an injection on my arm, which was for the arm to be disinfected of any bacteria. Then she gives me a painkiller for the pain. After that, everything is drowsy, as if my brain is on freeze. They are all done, the doctor says, smiling at me. Thanks, doctor, I say and smile gratefully. No problem, she says as I get out the bed carefully. As we all leave the hospital, my stomach growls loudly, making all the guys look at me questionably. I'm hungry. Can we go somewhere to eat now? I say. Come on, let's go. I know there is a McDonald's somewhere here, Sean says. We all get into the car and drive to McDonald's. How am I going to eat my food? I ask suddenly. That is your problem, not ours, Ace snaps loudly. Ace, it was your fault, Jason starts to say, but is cut off by the glare Ace is giving him. Here we are, Grayson says, breaking the awkward silence that has occupied the car. As we all get down the car, Sean comes beside and slings his arm around my shoulders. Before I can question what he is doing, he speaks. Don't worry about Ace, he just being a total jerk, and I will show you how to eat one hand, Sean says, winking his left eye. I smile at him gratefully, glad that somebody is kind enough to help me. Hurry up, you love birds, Jason says, making a blush creep its way to my cheeks. We are not together, I say. Sure you are not, Jason says, rolling his eyes. Just because Sean was talking to me doesn't mean we are together, I say, pointing my finger towards him. What about his arm around your shoulders? He was supporting my hand so that it did not move too much. Sure he was, Chris says, not believing me. What the? I start to say, but Chris cuts me off. What do you want, Arielle? Chris asks me. What? Oh, I will have a chicken burger. I look around and realize that we have reached McDonald's. I watch Chris and Grayson walk away, not bothering to ask the guys. Are you not having any food? I ask, confused. Why would you think that? Jason asks, pulling out a chair for himself. Chris did not ask you guys what you wanted to eat. We have been friends for a long time. We all know each other's likes and dislikes. Wow, you guys must have been friends for a long time. Yes, we have been, Ace says. I turn my head towards him to see him staring at me. His red eyes have a slight black in the middle. He turns his head suddenly. I follow the direction to see where he is looking. I see Chris and Grayson carrying 2 trays of food each. Food, Sean cheers when they reach our table. Jason and Sean are having an argument about which animal is the worst animal. We are currently sitting in the corner of the room and eating when a couple comes in. I sense that they are trouble but say nothing. They look in our direction, then at me. They say something to each other and then get up from their chairs. Instead of walking to the exit, they walk towards the table I am sitting. My palm gets sweaty as they come near us. The bad feeling I had of them earlier returned again, but this time it was much stronger. "It can't be," the lady says, gasping in surprise. Both the lady and man stop in front of our table. Both them have a glint in their eyes. It is as if they know something we don't know. "It can't be what?" Grayson asks, looking around in confusion. "Why are you touching Arielle's face?" Chris asks, irritated. "Because she is our daughter," the man says. Everybody is now staring at me. My heart thumps against my chest like a slow drum roll. "What?" I ask with shock. I swallow the food in my mouth. "Can I speak to you for a minute?" Ace asks. "Sure," the ace said, and they walk talking in hushed tones. "You're my mom?" I ask with confusion. My mind rumbles with questions like a thunder in a storm. How did she know I was her child? How does she sound so sure? Could she be lying? If she was, then why was she lying? "Of course. Don't you remember me?" she asks. I just nod my head because I am sure if I spoke then I will be in a fit of tears. Before she can ask me any questions, Ace and my father come back. "It's settled," Ace says with a look in his eyes that I couldn't understand. "What's settled?" I ask, completely confused to what is going on. "You are going to live with your parents," Ace says with no emotion. But I start to say, "Just go, Arielle. I've heard enough of your squeaky voice to last me for an entire lifetime." I don't know why, but his words hurt a lot. Was it all an act? Did he really just play with me, and was my voice really squeaky? "Okay, if that's what you want, that's what you will get," I say, and stand up, leaving my half-eaten food behind. My mind is quiet, not knowing what to think of what just happened. I feel like I am in a puzzle that is waiting to be discovered. Throughout the whole time I was with Ace, I thought that Ace needed me for something. But I guess I am wrong, because if he needed me, then he wouldn't have let my parents take me away from him. I feel an aching feeling in my heart, but I try to avoid it. My parents get the signal, and we walk to their car in silence. They have a silver BMW. Before I climb into the car, I look back to see the hurt expression in everybody's eyes, but as soon as Ace sees me looking at him, he quickly covers it up. I turn back around, out a fake smile on my face, and climb into the car. Every day is new beginning. Take a deep breath, smile, and start again. It's been 10 months since that day, and you could say that I have been getting over that day slowly, but I still cry remembering how easy it was for Ace to let me go so easily. My parents have a house in the middle of a forest, which kind do weird because the nearest town is 70 miles away. It's been weird living with them. I always have a feeling like something is going to happen. Something bad. Many nights when I sit with them for dinner, I feel an unpleasant feeling in my stomach as if they are hiding something from me. Something really important. They sometimes talk as if they were in the 15th century. My parents' names are like the names you get in the 15th century. It is pretty weird, but you learn to get used to it after a while. My mom's name is Elsabeth Ermel Carvello, and my dad's name is Johann Baptista Vincenzo Carvello. I found it hard to believe these were names, so I looked it up and realized these names were used in the 15th century. If you looked closely up, you would realize that my mom was English and my dad was Italian. I had once asked them why they had not named me with an ancient name, but all they said was that they did not want me to bullied about it. My parents have a 4-bedroom house with bathrooms attached to each room, a living room, TV room, and a big kitchen. Everything in this house is modern. There is a vegetable garden outside with a huge pool in the middle of it. There is a library with loads of books. There is a door inside the library, but it is always locked. It looks like 100 years old outside, but when you go inside you get a complete shock from the complete change of scenery. My room is different shades of blue with waves coming from each corner. I have a white walk-in closet and a white desk. There is huge LCD TV on the wall. Beside my bed is a white bedside table with a white couch beside the table. My parents' room is black. I mean purely black, no other color. Whenever I go to their room I get goosebumps on my arms and legs. My inner voice shouts at me to get out. It is like something is going to happen to me. Since I didn't have anybody else to ask advice from, I listened to my inner voice. My parents are very nice to me. We caught up on everything they missed for the past 18 years. When I mentioned university to them, they said I could go next year. Their exact quote was, "We should spend at least 1 year together to make up for the last 18 years. I confided in my parents about everything, and I thought they did too, but they did not. My parents might not know this, but I know what they are keeping secrets from me. Secrets that can change my life from good to bad. On the first day when I was unpacking, I had overheard my mom telling my dad if they should tell me about whom I am and what I am doing here. Dad just said patience is a virtue else. That was not the last time they had something like that. They had this same conversation 2 times in these past months, and now, this is the moment when Dad says to Mom patience is a virtue when I walk in. I had enough of this secret. I mean, what could it do to me, right? What secret are you keeping away from me, Mom and Dad? I ask, crossing my arms over my chest. They both turn around quickly. Mom has a surprised face on her face, but it is quickly masked with anger. Listening to other people's conversations is a bad manner, she scolds me. Keeping secrets from your long-lost daughter is not nice, I talk back. You really are useless, Dad says harshly. A dangerous look coming onto his face. I had never seen his face like this before. Mom seemed to catch on to what he was saying because the same dangerous look crossed her face. Oh, why did I have to interrupt their conversation? Dad grabbed a hold of my hand and dragged me along to the library. We were currently outside the locked door. Dad, you are hurting me, I cry out, as his nails dug deeper into my arm. Shut up, you useless child, Dad says without sympathy. Mom snaps her fingers and suddenly the door opens. It is fully dark inside. All you can see is the first 3 stairs. Mom again snaps her fingers and the lights switched on. Now I can see the whole steep staircase. Dad pulls me roughly and drags me down. I keep wriggling my body trying to get out of my dad's grip, but my mom holds my arms tightly behind my back, making it hard for me to move. When we reach downstairs, I am shocked to see so many faces, and I don't know why, but they all seemed familiar. They all looked up and snapped. One of them was chained to the wall. All of them had scratches all over their faces, and their t-shirts were torn. The person chained to the wall looked the most hurt, with blood coming from his shirt. It was as I knew them, but I didn't at the same time. The person chained to the slowly raises his head. He shakes his head to get his dark brown hair away from his face. He looks at me with his light brown eyes. We both stare into each other's eyes, and just like that, everything stopped for a second. I forget about my mom and dad keeping secrets. I forgot about being dragged all the way here. I forgot about Ace for the first time in months. He was tall and had six-pack through his white shirt that was stained with blood. He had a pair of shorts that were ripped in the end. He looks like horrible, and from the condition he is in, he looks like he has been here for a long time. He too, like the others, looked familiar. Abruptly, I feel a sting on my right arm. Before I can say anything, I feel lightheaded. I see double of the boy. My inner voice is shouting at me to stay awake, but this all is too much for me. Our lives are shaped as much to those who leave us too as they are to those who stay. Loss is out legacy. Insight is our gift. Memory is our guide. We finally got you, the man said, holding the 2-year-old girl tightly towards his chest. What do we do with her, sir? A different man asked. Do anything you want with her, but I'll be back in one day. So make use of it, he said, handing the girl to him and walking away. What should we do with such a precious little girl like you? The man asked menacingly, chaining the little girl. The girl thrashed around, but it just seemed to hurt her more. Tears were dripping down her face like rain. Her eyes were red from all the crying, and there was a big black and purple mark on her right delicate cheek. The girl was screaming as the man beat her. I stood in the corner of the room shouting for the man to let her go. Let her go, I screamed, but no one could hear me. Let her go, I screamed again, my throat slightly sore from the strength I put into it. Let her go, please, I kept on screaming, but no one could hear me. I ran to the girl and tried to grab the man's hand, but it just went straight through. I tried again, but I got the same result. I was invisible. I couldn't do anything to help the poor child, I thought. Just looking at the girl made tears trickle down my face. The man was hitting her with fire. Her arm just above her elbow was fully black from the burn. It was definitely going to be a scar, with my blurry vision at the new forming scar. I went forward and looked more closely and saw that I had seen the scar somewhere. I racked my brain thinking of where I had seen it, but I knew one thing. I had seen the scar before. I wake up to the sound of my name being called. I open my eyes to see the old ceiling. I then close my drowsy eyes again, remembering the dream no nightmare I had. It felt I was the one being almost beaten to death. It was like I was there. Arielle, someone shouts. I turn my head to the side, trying to get rid of the sound that is ruining my sleep. Come on, Arielle, wake up, that person shouts again. I let out an annoying grunt and turn my head to the side again. In the distance, I can hear the rattling sounds of the chains. My sleep slowly fades away from me as the sound gets louder. Come on, Arielle, wake up, the same person shouted, but he sounded weak. I tried my hardest to open my eyes, but I couldn't. I tried moving hands, but I couldn't. I tried moving my legs, but I couldn't. What's wrong with me? I want to open my eyes and look at the person and tell him I am okay. Tell him about everything I had been through. Tell him that somehow for an unknown reason I felt safe seeing him, even though he is bloody and dirty. I think of what my father had said and thought, if it was true, could I be his sister, or is that just a way to make me weak? The same person who shouted my name spoke now in a weak voice. Come on, Arielle, wake up. I can't lose you, not again, he begged with sincerity. Even though I didn't recognize the voice, I felt a small warmth fill me at the thought of someone caring for me. Something about the voice made me feel safe. It was as if something inside of triggered. As if it is a command, I open my eyes to remember the reality of what is going on. My parents' betrayal, the dungeon with familiar faces, the boy that looked like me fainting. I hear a cough from someone bringing me back to reality. I look around to see all familiar faces. It feels like I know them from somewhere, but I can't at the same time. I look around again to see if I remember at least a tiny bit, but all I see is the same people. Oddly enough, each one of them have a sympathetic look on their faces. When I have seen everybody's faces, I finally put all my fear aside and look to the boy chained to the wall opposite me. "Are you okay?" he asks, looking at me as if I will disappear within the air and not come back. I didn't trust my voice. I just shook my head to say no. My head was throbbing badly, making it impossible for me to think of an escape route out of this place. Suddenly, the door to the library was banged open. I jumped slightly in fright. My heart beats against my chest loudly. I rub my dry hands together, my throat burning from thirst and my stomach rumbling for food. My mom and dad walked downstairs with the same dangerous look they had yesterday. I hadn't noticed this before, but I did now. They seemed to have a dangerous vibe around them, like the type that makes your stomach clench and makes you feel sick. The hunger I had vanished away as the sudden urge to vomit replaced it. That's when I realized that this was my second time being kidnapped, and our lives are shaped as much to those who leave us to as they are to those who stay. Loss is our legacy. Insight is our gift. Memory is our guide. "We finally got you," the man said, holding the 2-year-old girl tightly towards his chest. "What do we do with her, sir?" a different man asked. "Do anything you want with her, but I'll be back in one day. So make use of it," he said, handing the girl to him and walking away. "What should we do with such a precious little girl like you?" the man asked menacingly, chaining the little girl to the wall by her arms and legs. The girl thrashed around, but it just seemed to hurt her more. Tears were dripping down her face like rain. Her eyes were red from all the crying, and there was a big black and purple mark on her right delicate cheek. The girl was screaming as the man beat her. I stood in the corner of the room shouting for the man to let her go. "Let her go," I screamed, but no one could hear me. "Let her go," I screamed again, my throat slightly sore from the strength I put into it. "Let her go, please," I kept on screaming, but no one could hear me. I ran to the girl and tried to grab the man's hand, but it just went straight through. I tried again, but I got the same result. I was invisible. I couldn't do anything to help the poor child, I thought. Just looking at the girl made tears trickle down my face. The man was hitting her with fire. Her arm just above her elbow was fully black from the burn. It was definitely going to be a scar with my blurry vision at the new forming scar. I went forward and looked more closely and saw that I had seen the scar somewhere. I racked my brain thinking of where I had seen it, but I knew one thing. I had seen the scar before. I wake up to the sound of my name being called. I open my eyes to see the old ceiling. I then close my drowsy eyes again, remembering the nightmare I had. It felt I was the one being almost beaten to death. It was like I was there. "Arielle," someone shouts. I turn my head to the side, trying to get rid of the sound that is ruining my sleep. "Come on, Arielle, wake up," that person shouts again. I let out an annoying grunt and turn my head to the side again. In the distance, I can hear the rattling sounds of the chains. My sleep slowly fades away from me as the sound gets louder. "Come on, Arielle, wake up," the same person shouted. But he sounded weak. I tried my hardest to open my eyes, but I couldn't. I tried moving hands, but I couldn't. I tried moving my legs, but I couldn't. What's wrong with me? I want to open my eyes and look at the person and tell him I am okay. Tell him about everything I had been through. Tell him that somehow, for an unknown reason, I felt safe seeing him, even though he is bloody and dirty. I think of what my father had said and thought, if it was true, could I be his sister, or is that just a way to make me weak? The same person who shouted my name spoke now in a weak voice. "Come on, Arielle, wake up. I can't lose you, not again," he begged with sincerity. Even though I didn't recognize the voice, I felt a small warmth fill me at the thought of someone caring for me. Something about the voice made me feel safe. It was as if something inside of triggered. As if it is a command, I open my eyes to remember the reality of what is going on. My parents' betrayal. The dungeon with familiar faces. The boy that looked like me fainting. I hear a cough from someone bringing me back to reality. I look around to see all familiar faces. It feels like I know them from somewhere, but I can't at the same time. I look around again to see if I remember at least a tiny bit, but all I see is the same people. Oddly enough, each one of them have a sympathetic look on their faces. When I have seen everybody's faces, I finally put all my fear aside and look to the boy chained to the wall opposite me. "Are you okay?" he asks, looking at me as if I will disappear within the air and not come back. I didn't trust my voice. I just shook my head to say no. Suddenly the door to the library was banged open. I jumped slightly in fright. My heart beats against my chest loudly. I rubbed my dry hands together, my throat burning from thirst and my stomach rumbling for food. My mom and dad walked downstairs with the same dangerous look they had yesterday. I hadn't noticed this before, but I did now. They seemed to have a dangerous vibe around them, like the type that makes your stomach clench and makes you feel sick. The hunger I had vanished away as the sudden urge to vomit replaced it. That's when I realized that this was my second time being kidnapped in 1 year. God loves me so much. A moment in my arms, forever in my heart. I was walking down to the forest, as far away as the human eye could see. I kept on walking deeper and deeper into the forest. You could smell a hint of rain and mud from the storm last night. I walked down the steep hill and into the meeting place. I waited down for the guys to come so that we could investigate the area because we had seen sightings of rouges in the area. We had to check it out as it was our jobs to make sure the hybrid royals were safe, and as the head hybrid royal guard, I was to lead them. We were currently near the Amazon forest. This was a very well-known hiding place for the rouges. I heard the crunches of leaves and turned around to see Grayson, my second-in-command, climbing down the steep hill. Grayson and I may work together a lot and you would think we would be very close, but we were not. He was the type of guy who was normally very quiet in general. We grew up together, literally. We lived in the same house because our parents were very close and they wanted their children, especially Grayson and I, to be very close because we would be working together. Sadly for them, we had grown up to little things in common. "Good morning, Grayson." "Good morning, Ace." That was all we said to each other. We both kept silent, waiting for the other three to arrive. You would have thought that being there would be super awkward, but it wasn't awkward. We had been doing this silence thing since the day we had been given our positions for the head and second-in-command of the Royal Hybrid. After 5 minutes of silence, we heard the footsteps of the other three. "What took you all?" I asked them in my deep voice. "What? No good morning or how was your sleep?" Sean asked sarcastically. They were all used to this. "Okay, now that you are all here, finally we will start our checkup. Remember, if you find anything unordinary or you feel unsafe, mind link me immediately. Understand?" I asked, my voice full of authority. From a young age, I had always learned to be superior to other werewolves. "Understood," they all say in unison. We get ready to change into our wolves when I feel a sudden pain in the face. Then again, and again. Just when I thought this was over, I felt a pain shoot from my heart and worm its way through my whole body. My wolf was keeping half of the pain away. Even with half of the pain, it was like all my limbs were being taken out piece by piece. The pain tripled, making me drop down on my knees. The pain reaches my head and makes me scream out loud like a teenage girl that got a rose from their first crush for the first time. It feels like my brain was being chopped into a billion pieces with millions of knives. My vision gets hazy, and I see an abandoned house in the middle of the forest. Then the picture fades away, and instead I see a room that seems to belong to a girl, and then again, the picture fades away and I see Arielle. Blood all over her body. I try to see the surroundings and a clue to where Arielle is, but the picture starts to fade away, and before I can do anything, I am back in the forest. It is silent for a second. It's like my mind has blocked all the noise from the outside world, including the faint sound of the guys telling me to hold on and that they have called for help. Suddenly I feel nothing. Nothing at all. Before I went fully unconscious, I whisper the name I thought I would never say again. Something happened to Arielle. Pain makes you stronger, fear makes you braver, heartbreak makes you wiser. Both my parents came down. "Well, looky here, Sleeping Beauty has finally woken up," she said with hate in her eyes. It was weird seeing her hate me so much. I always thought that she could never hurt a fly, but now I wasn't so sure. "What should we do with her?" my dad said. Both my parents looked thoughtful for a second before my dad got smirk on his face. He mumbled some words and suddenly I was on the floor screaming in pain. Stop it," I cried out. It felt like my body was being ripped apart one by one. "Stop it, Iahan," the guy opposite me said firmly to my dad. "Look here else, brother looking out for her sister," my dad said. 2 words stood out for me. Brother and sister. The guy opposite me was my brother. But that's not possible. I had no family, or did I? "What do you mean, sister?" I ask. "Shut up, Arielle. I can't stand to hear your annoying voice anymore," my mom rudely says to me, her eyes glaring at me with hatred. "Stop it," my brother says, shaking. "You know what I want, Xavion. If you give it to me, I will not harm your sister," my dad says, walking over to me. All this while my mom was bringing things out from a cupboard near the doorway. "How come I didn't see that when I came in?" "You know all you have to do is tell us, Xavion," my dad says, slapping me lightly on the cheek. "Never," my brother says with determination. "Okay, well then just remember that everything I do now is all your fault," my mom says. What did he mean by that everything we do now is all your fault? Suddenly I felt a whip striking me on my face. I guess this is what she meant. I turn my head to just see the while striking again, then again, then again. There is blood pouring from my face, and I knew for sure this was going to be a scare that would never, ever go. Tears were pouring down my face. Just when I think I can't take in more, I feel excruciating pain from my heart and spreading throughout my body. The pain triples, causing me to cough up blood. I am coughing so much I couldn't breathe, making me weaker than ever before. I feel like my lungs are on fire. I try to breathe in from my mouth, but I can't because I am still coughing up blood. The excruciating pain has reached my head, giving me an awful headache. I try to think of something else, anything, booty, come up with nothing. Suddenly I feel nothing. I feel my body closing down one by one, then off. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. Arielle, come on, wake up, someone mutters to me gently. Arielle, come on, wake up. Arielle, come on, wake up. Arielle, come. I cut the person off by grunting softly. I open my eyes and blink a few times to see where I am. I turn my head slightly to see that there is an old-looking man watching me intently. Where am I? Then I remember the beating last night, and the guy telling me to be awake. My dad said that guy opposite was my brother. I try looking around, but I cannot because the moment I move my head, a shot of pain spread quickly across my arm, causing me to moan in pain. I close my eyes to prevent the tears that have formed from the pain from falling. I can hear a lot of hushed voices, then suddenly the boy who is supposed to be chained opposite me is now standing in my lane of visions. How did he get out? How did the man get out? I force myself to turn my head to see that I too am unchained. I scrunch my eyebrows in confusion, my mind swarming with questions that I cannot answer. How did I get unchained? When did I get unchained? Who? I know what you are thinking. And it's a long story for another day when we escape hopefully out of this place. My brother says, me too, with disgust. You are my... I'm going crazy, aren't I? You couldn't be my brother, could you? I mean, I am your brother most probably. There is no time to explain anything. Come on, we have to go before they come back, he says, coming up to me. This is going to hurt a bit. Christian, my brother calls out to the old man that is standing beside him. The old man nods his head and comes over to us. My brother gently lifts me up. Ah, I start to scream, but my brother immediately put his hand over my mouth. His hand is rough and dry against my face. Be quiet. Everything's going to be all right. Shish, he soothes me, as my whole body aches from the beatings that I had received yesterday. My body burns as my brother holds me against his chest. My head is against his right side of his chest. I can hear the thumping sound of his heartbeat. We are currently walking through the library to the front door when my brother stops. I know what you are going to see now is going to shock you a lot, but you have to know we are not going to hurt you. I turn my head and look to see what he is talking about, but my neck will not let me. Pain shots up my neck from the sudden movement. The burning sensation that I had before comes back. I see a wolf coming this way. I get scared, so I cuddle deeper into my brother's chest. The wolf is definitely not a normal wolf with its brown fur, and the wolf's brown eyes bore into mine. Something sparks in me. It is as if he trying to say something to me. The eyes seem very familiar, almost like the old man. This is not usual for a wolf, at least for a normal wolf. My brother turns my face towards his so that we were looking at each other's eye to eye. Both of us do not say a word. The silence is enough to say everything. Okay, now I want to climb on the wolf's back and hold tightly to his fur. He will take you somewhere safe, he tells me gently. What about you? I ask with concern. I may not know my brother for long, but I do know that he is a good guy because he is saving my life. Don't worry about me, he says, and carries me gently to the wolf and put me on the wolf. He checks over and makes sure I won't fall, and then he waves to me and says, I'll see you soon. He nods to the wolf, and with that we running to God nowhere. The wolf is going very fast for a normal wolf. I was holding on to the wolf so tightly I am surprised that it is not bleeding. We were passing so many trees at a minute that if this was a game I would have lost a long time ago. Just when I am getting used to the wolf, it stops and sniffs the air and growls a vicious growl. A shiver of fear passes through me. Goosebumps appear in my arms and legs. I hear a rustle of leaves, and then suddenly two wolves come out. My eyes go wide in shock. I grip the fur on the wolf. My heart beats wildly against my chest. One of the wolves that had come lets out a warning growl. You have to fight through some bad days to earn the best days of your life. The two wolves were both dark brown with hazel eyes, but one had a big gash right above his eyebrow. They both took threatening steps towards. They kept on looking at us with an evil glint in the eye. They both had canines which were pure black. Weird. I didn't know you get those type of wolves, but I also didn't know you got these huge sizes of wolves. The wolf I was sitting on got into an attack position with his canines out, telling them to back off. Suddenly he started shaking. I wondered why he was doing that, but then I realized that he was telling to get off. What a smart wolf. I slowly got off him, careful not to make any sudden movement that could make my body even more in pain, and walked slowly to the nearest tree. I could feel the two wolves staring at me as I slowly backed towards the tree. Their hazel eyes were filled with something I had never ever seen before in a wolf. Hatred. Hunger? But for what? When I had finally had my back against the bark of the huge tree, the two wolves took their eyes away from me and towards the wolf that carried me. Let's call the wolf that carried me Patrick, because I used to know a guy called Patrick in my class and he would always stay true to his word. The two wolves both took attack positions. Before you could even blink your eyes, all the wolves ran towards each other at one time. They all growled and snapped. I was surprised that Patrick wasn't dead yet. They were biting and kicking each other. The wolf with the gash used their canines to their advantage and bit into Patrick's stomach, making himself howl loudly in pain. The wolf without the gash had grabbed Patrick's left leg and bit into it and take a huge chunk of his leg, causing him to howl once again. There was blood pouring out Patrick's stomach and leg. Before anything else could happen, 5 wolves suddenly appeared. They all had a brownie's fur, either dark or light, but one of the wolves withstood out. The wolf had pitch black fur that you would just like to comb your fingers through. There was a small scar on its right foot, but other than that it was beautiful. The wolf was well built, and you could see muscle on his arms and legs. The bloodshot red eyes would scare a normal person away, but I felt safe. Like I knew it wouldn't hurt me. Just like Ace, all the wolves stared at me for a second and then joined the fight. Within seconds, both the wolves were dead, and all you could see was blood on the ground. Both the wolves had their necks in a very irregular way. There was blood on all the wolves. They weren't bleeding, but it was the blood of the two wolves and Patrick's. Just remembering Patrick, I ran towards him, ignoring the pain shooting through my whole body. The other 4 wolves moved aside for me to come through. Before I could reach Patrick, the black wolf stood there blocking the way. We both looked into each other's eyes, and then suddenly there was big transformation, and then standing in front of me wasn't the black wolf, but instead someone I least expected to see, especially here in this situation. Ace? I whispered. Arielle? Ace whispered with a surprised look on his face. What are you doing here? I guess it's time for me to explain, he said, and started to reach forward towards me. There are no secrets that time does not reveal. I took multiple steps back, ignoring the smell of the dead bodies with blood all over the sand that you could no longer see. I had just seen 2 wolves die right in front of me. I had just seen the 5 wolves who I thought were wolves changed back to humans. I didn't know how to react. I couldn't react because my mind was still frozen over what just happened. It couldn't be what I thought, could it? This was one of the questions that stood out most in my mind. Could be they be? No, they couldn't. I couldn't even say the name. It just seemed so distant to me, like there was a shield that forced me not to say the word. I hadn't noticed before, but I did now. The 4 others wolves who were standing side to side had too changed back into their human form. Though they are not naked, but they were shirtless, allowing me to see all their 6-packs that I could just know. Arielle, remember what they did to you. Remember that they gave you to your parents without a second thought. They all stared at me as if waiting for me to run away. You could hear the whispering of the trees from the deadly and very awkward silence. They all just kept on staring at me as if I was a piece of art. You could literally cut the tension with a knife. I jumped at the sound of the phone that started to ring. It was, to be exact, Ace's phone. At least something broke the silence. He picked up the phone and spoke into with a fluent flow of words that I couldn't catch because he was not speaking English. While he was speaking on the phone, he kept on staring at me, his red eyes trying to connect with my boring brown eyes. He spoke for 2 minutes, then hung up. "We are not going to hurt you," he says with his arms in surrender as a way to show his alliance. You killed them, and then you turned into a human from being a wolf," I tried to say but failed. "Don't worry about, we are going to tell you everything if you just let us explain," he tried to say to me. I couldn't trust my voice, so went with option B, and nodded my head to continue. "I know there is a local bar," Grayson started to say, but I interrupted him. "No, just explain everything to me here," I said, my voice wavering with fear. Just then we heard a faint help and remember the Patrick trying to breath. "Oh my gosh," I couldn't and would have run to him, but he was covered in blood. In seconds, as if they were talking in their minds, Sean, Jason, and Chris were carrying Patrick away. "Where are they taking him?" "They are taking him to the nearest supernatural hospital," Ace replied. "So do you want to explain everything to me now?" "Sure. What do you want to know?" Grayson asked. "I don't know, maybe everything." "Okay, where to begin?" "Vampires, werewolves, witches, warlocks, demon, fairy, and hybrid exist, and all the other things don't exist. Each supernatural has a different kingdom. For example, the vampires have King Deville. The kingdoms are then ruled over by the hybrid kingdom, which is like the main kingdom. They make sure everything is in place and that all the rules are followed. They also take rule over the royals." "So what are you?" I asked curiously. I am the head hybrid guard, I'm a hybrid which is in charge of the security of the hybrid kingdom. Now I'm guessing that this is too much information for you, so that is all I am going to tell you, but remember there is much more to learn and you will learn in time, he said to me as if I was a baby. Okay, so you are not going to hurt me, right? If I wanted to hurt you, then why I would have killed you by now? He said this as if it was completely normal to say that in a normal conversation. Oh, I say, not knowing what else to say. Don't feel frightened by us, we would never hurt you. We never hurt humans unless really necessary, Grayson spoke. Okay, so where are we going from here? Well, we are going to the kingdom since our job here is done. What job? Remember what I said, princess. There is a lot to learn and you will learn in a time when you are fully awake. What are you talking about? I started to say but trailed off as I felt the day's exhaustion filling my head with so many questions that it needed a rest. I started to feel myself fall, but was caught by a pair of hands which I recognize as Ace because of the sparks. Life always gives us surprises. Beep 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 beep, what in the world is that annoying sound? I opened my eyes to a bright light right above my head. Stupid light, I muttered, closing my eyes again. I felt with my fingers that I am on the bed and there is a desk or table beside me. I felt a thin blanket over me. I think I am in a hospital because of that awful smell. If I'm not in a hospital, this place stinks. I tried to move my face, but a shoot of pain made me cry out loud. I opened my eyes to see I was definitely in a hospital. There was an air conditioner in the room, and there was one window. I lifted my fingers to my face to see wires of some sort attached to my face. There was a wire attached to my arms and one on my leg. I saw no point in staying awake and feeling the pain, so I closed my eyes and tried to sleep. But of course something, or should I say somebody, had to come and ruin the parade. I go to eat my first meal in 2 days, and you wake up, Saeed, pulling a stool to come to sit beside me. You have not eaten in 2 days, I asked in shock. Something inside me tells me that I should be afraid of him and not trust him, but something inside me tells me to trust him. I do not, if it is because he saved my life or something else. How are you feeling? Tired, and my whole body is sore. You don't remember? The doctor never said anything about memory loss. No, you idiot. I remember, but what happened after I slept off? Well, I carried you to the nearest hospital and a doctor came to check you. The doctor said you don't have any serious injuries that couldn't be fixed with some modern medicines, so you will be up on your feet in 4 days. Can I have some food? Sure, Ace said, and went out of the room to get food for me. After about 4 minutes, Ace came back with a drink and some type of packet with him. What is it? I asked excitedly because this was my first time I was eating my food in days. Hot chocolate and marshmallow. The doctor said that you should have something soft and hot to drink. This is the only thing I could find, he said, shrugging his shoulders. And what if I don't like marshmallows? What, you don't? I'll go get something. Ace started to ramble, but I cut him off. I was just joking. I mean, who doesn't like marshmallow? Now help me up, I ordered to him. With a bit of crying of me and Ace's constant soothing words encouraging me, I finally sat up. Let me feed you, Ace said, opening the marshmallow packet. No, I started to protest, but am cut off by Ace. You kind of can't move with all those wires, so you have no choice, Ace said, closing the discussion. Fine. Somehow I like this side of Ace, the soft side that many people may not know about because of his intimating height. Do you want the marshmallows in the hot chocolate or out the hot chocolate? He asked. That's a stupid question, of course. I want the marshmallows in the hot chocolate. Okay, you do not need to be so moody. I was just asking, Ace says calmly and lifts the cup to my lips so that I can drink from it. I would have commented back, but the taste of the marshmallows and hot chocolate quickly made me forget about what I was thinking. Just when I am almost done, Ace's phone rang. By the sound of it, it looked important. What happened? I asked. Nothing, he said, looking at me with those red eyes. Oh, come on, you owe me, remember. Fine. The guys found a trail that leads to the hybrid prince. They think that he might have escaped but may still be in danger, so they have contacted me to ask me what to do next. Well, what are you going to do? I cannot tell you that, Ace said. Why not? I asked in confusion. Confidential, Ace replied. Silence fills the room as Ace mind links the guys, telling them what to do next. I took a deep and scrunched my nose in disgust from the horrible smell of the hospital. The guy that saved you, what did he look like? Ace asked me suddenly. I turned my head to him quickly in fright. I took a deep breath to calm down my heart that is beating wildly in my chest. The boy had dark brown hair and light brown eyes, I say, closing my eyes to try and remember the boy that saved my life. How did you know? He said, coming closer to me. Oh, he is my brother. Well, that's what he said, I said, looking down on my lap. I fiddled with my fingers, nervous about his outcome. Ace does not say anything for a while. What did you just say? I said that the boy is my brother. I know what you said, Ace replied back. Then why did you ask? Ah, you can be so annoying. Well, it's not my fault you are so moody today. Anyways, we are going to have a talk about what you said earlier after I come back, Ace said, opening the I's door. Stay safe, I said, and saw Ace smiled at me genuinely, as if it meant more to him. I will, he said back, looking into my eyes. The way he looked at me spread warmth all over my body. After Ace left, I looked around the room for some source of entertainment, but there was none. I didn't know what else to do, and I couldn't move my body, so I just closed my eyes and slowly fell asleep. I'm sorry to announce that the search for the princess is now officially closed. No evidence could be found of her whereabouts. We have asked all the supernatural beings around the world to look for her, but after 3 years of searching and no evidence, we believe she is dead, the man said to the crowd. The royal family behind them had no emotions on their faces except their eyes. Their eyes gave everything away. You could see the sadness in each of their eyes. The king took his arm away from his mate's waist and walked up to the front of the stage. Thank you to everybody that helped search for her. We cannot show how grateful we are to see the loyalty you showed to our daughter. Many of you didn't even know her, but you still helped search for her, and we are very grateful for that. May she rest in peace. The king spoke and clear to the crowd. Peace, the crowd replied in sync as if they practiced that. Just like that, everybody started to disappear. There was some that just clicked their fingers and were gone, while others ran into the forest. Some turned into wolves, and 2 as the vampires ran into the forest. I opened my eyes to the sound of loud voices. It sounded like there was a fight outside. It went quiet for a second, then there were gunshots heard and multiple screams from all over. Before I could register anything, one of them came into my room and pointed a gun to my head. Expect the unexpected. I sat there in shock, not knowing what to do. There was a part of me saying to scream as loud as I can, but there was another part saying to be silent. But I knew either way, I was going to die. Before I could even think further than that, a figure came and snapped his neck, causing the guy with the gun to fall on the floor. The figure that saved me came out fully, only for me to gasp. There, standing there in black leggings and a black jacket, was no other than my best friend. Esme, I said with shock. Arielle, Esme started to say, but I cut her off. Please don't hurt me, I begged, fear suddenly coursing through my body. Before all this, I would have never been scared from her, never, but now I don't even think I know her. What? I would never hurt you, Arielle, she said, coming closer to me. No, get away from me, I said, and tried to move, but only resulted in a cry of pain from me. Okay, see, I won't hurt you. I'll even put my gun beside down if it makes Uptown feel safer, she says this as she takes her gun and puts it on the floor. I know that you have a lot of questions, but just know I would never hurt you. I mean, if I wanted to, I would have not killed that guy and the others, she said, sincerity in her voice. What do you mean others? I asked, puzzled. You really are sick. There were others too, but you don't have to be scared. I killed them all. She said this as if it's completely normal to kill someone. What? I said, feeling scared all over again. Before you freak out and say that I am a killer and whatnot, I want to explain first. I am a werewolf. Okay, I say. That's it? All you are going to say is okay, she said, completely freaked out by my reaction. I know about werewolves, I said, and shrugged my shoulders lightly. What? Since when? You know what, I am going off topic. Well, as I was saying, I am a werewolf, but not a normal werewolf. What do you mean? Well, if you stop interrupting me, I will tell you. As In was saying, I am the vice head guard of the werewolves. I was sent here to retrieve the prince. I only got my position as vice head guard 5 months ago, so you don't get to shout at me for not telling you this. Since the day I was born, I had been training for this position, but I'm still the same Arielle. The only difference now is that you know I am a werewolf, and am the vice head guard. For this position, the only difference is that now I'm a werewolf. I still like to eat and play pranks on people, so please don't be afraid of me. I know I kill people, but I kill murders. Those murders would kill more people than I would kill in my whole lifetime. So please forgive me, she said, looking at me in the eyes with tears in her eyes. If I could hug you right now I would, but as you can see I'm stuck, I said with a grin playing on my lips. You haven't changed a bit, have you, Arielle? She said with a laugh escaping her lips. Nope, I'm still me, I said, laughing with her. What are you doing here and what happened to you? Esme asked after our fit of laughter. It is a long story, I said truthfully. Well, it's good thing I have time, she said brightly. Whoa, that's wow. It is like every day there is a surprise for you, she said with a shocked expression on her face. Yep, and that's what I've been doing for this past 11 months. You know, I never thought I would actually say this aloud, but I missed you, Esme. Same here, Arielle, she says, coming over to me, giving me a gentle hug with tears running down her face, making me cry too. Esme, I asked suddenly. Yes, she said, pulling away from the hug to look at me properly. What happened the night I was kidnapped? I asked, abruptly, very curious about what happened that night. I'm giving you 2 seconds to get away from her. Ace's booming voice spoke before she could answer. Best friends or siblings God forgot to make. Okay. Geez, this is like the third time someone's told me get away from Ari, Esme said with her arms raised high, slowly backing away until she was a couple of centimeters away from the bed. Esme, what are you doing here? Ace asked, coming into my room and sitting next to me on my bed. Just being beside him, I couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to kiss those wonderful red lips. I stared at him from the bed, inspecting everything I could see in this view. I saw sweat pouring down his neck, telling me he had been running. I also saw a black mark, more like a line going down, but it disappeared into his black shirt. I wonder if he has a tat. I should be asking you the same thing, Esme said, breaking me out of my never-ending thoughts. You shouldn't talk to people higher up like that, Ace threats, growling, especially after what I walked in on. Someone's met his mate, Esme said. When Esme said the word mate, I got an involuntary shiver through my whole body. I didn't know what a mate was, and I don't remember Ace saying anything about a mate. What's a mate? I asked, breaking the glaring contest between Esme and Ace. They both snapped their heads to me, staring at me silently, not saying a single word. Well, I said when I realized none of them were going to answer for a while. They both stared at each other, panic on both their faces, but it was quickly gone. Taking a deep, Ace started to say, "You know when I said that you will learn more things as time goes on, well, this is one of the moments when I'm going to tell you something, so please let us explain fully before you go all ballistic." Okay, I said slowly, not knowing what could be so bad about this word. The mate is a shorter version for a soulmate. Each supernatural has a mate. The moment you set eyes on them, you can't let them go. If ever their mate dies for an unknown reason, then they too die. Depressed, that finally leads to suicide, or they go rogue and kill innocent people. Ace says, staring at me directly in my eyes, "Mates are gifts from the moon goddess. They are the most precious things in the world. From the moment you set eyes on them, you fall in love with them, and you can never let them go, unlike some people," Esme adds, making Ace stand up and glare fiercely at her. Suddenly the air is filled with unwanted tension. The only sound you could hear was of my fingers connecting with a metal part of the bed. I looked around the room trying to find a distraction, anything to break the tension that kept on building every minute. Of course there was nothing, so I moved on to my second plan, which was hoping that one of them says something, anything that could break the tense situation. After a few seconds still, no one had spoken, I moved on to my third plan, which was to pray to God that someone comes into the room to break the tension. Unlucky for me, no one came through. I knew that the sound of the metal sounds from my finger connecting to the metal was just making the situation worse, so I stopped. I was never good at keeping still, especially when I was in an extreme situation. This situation wasn't helping one bit. Before I could think of anything else to do, Ace spoke up. "You should know how it feels like to be let go. I mean, if I remember clearly, your mate rejected you the moment he set his eyes on you. How could you?" she said, tears forming in her eyes. Before she ran speedily out the door, I catch a glimpse of her tear-stricken face and knew that what Ace had hurt her very badly. "What did you mean by rejected?" I asked very curiously to what it meant. "It's nothing you need to know about," he said with a distant look in his eyes. "Don't you dare say it's nothing you need to know about, because my best friend just ran out the door and it had something with the word rejected. I know it. Some supernatural don't like or don't want mates. The thing that you should be able to choose who you live with for the rest of your life. They don't believe in mates. These people refuse." "Why does it hurt?" I asked, suddenly very peculiar about the subject. "What hurts when you get rejected? Does it hurt?" I asked. "Many who have been rejected say it hurts like hell, but I don't know from personal experience," he says truthfully. "Do you even have a mate?" "Yes." "What is her name?" I asked, jealous of whoever his mate was. "Her name is Arielle," he said, looking at me, waiting for my response. I too was waiting for a response from my brain, but it seemed like it was frozen. It seemed like everything was frozen. When my brain finally unfroze, it kept on saying the same words that Ace had just said. I was his mate. Out of all the people in the world, love is not who you see yourself with. It is who can't see yourself without. "What?" I whispered, my voice filled with shock. "I know it's all hard to take in, but I'm your mate," I said as if I hadn't just interrupted him. "Yes," he said cautiously, as if waiting for me to suddenly scream my life out. Different emotions ran down my body. There is this part of me that just wants to jump in joy, while there is another part of me that is scared about him being my mate. How is that possible? I mean, can you even have a human mate? No, you can't have a human mate, and it might be because you are the prince's sister, meaning you have royal blood somewhere. Royal blood, what is that supposed to mean? It means that you have werewolf blood in your system somewhere, Ace explained. So does that mean I am going to go all fury and turn into a wolf? If I do, will I kill innocent people, won't I? I asked with my eyes wide, and fear quickly spread through my body. What? No, I mean, you might turn into a werewolf, but even if you do, you won't become a monster, Arielle. I won't let you, Ace said with a look of determination that made all of my fears that I had to disappear away. I know I have been a jerk, but I want to make it up to you. I want to show you that I actually care about no matter what your opinion is of me. I know I messed up when I send you to those damn witches, but I'm going to make it up to you. I just sat on my bed with mouth wide open in shock and my eyes wide. It was like I couldn't believe what Ace just said. He didn't look like the guy to give such sweet speeches. Something inside of me was happy that he didn't just give up after being a total jerk to me. "Keep your mouth closed, princess, we don't want flies entering it," he said with his well-known smirk appearing on his face. "Oh, look who is talking, jerk face. I never thought that a guy like you would ever say such a sweet and loving speech in your life." "Jerk face?" Ace questioned me with an eyebrow raised. "What, I am just repeating what you said in your love speech," I said with an innocent face. "Love speech?" Ace asked me again with the same eyebrow raised. "Yep, isn't that what I said?" "Stop that," he suddenly said to me. "Stop what?" I asked, biting my lip even more and letting more hair cover my already covered face. "Biting your lip and covering your face with your hair. You are beautiful," he says to me, making me again stare at him with my eyes wide and my mouth hanging open. He slowly walks over to where I was sitting on the bed and gently takes all the hair from my face and behind my ear, making sparks fly all over. He then places his fingers on my bottom lip and gently pulls at it so that I wasn't biting it anymore. As he does this, I feel like I was getting electrocuted, but in a good way. "Do you feel that?" he asks me, his voice low and husky, making involuntary goosebumps come all over my body. "You mean the sparks?" I asked. "Yes, it makes me feel so happy knowing that you are safe. Your touch calms my wolf and I down. I am so glad I found you," he said with love in his voice. He leaned his head forward so that our heads were touching each other. "Since when did you become a love guru?" I whispered to him, warmth spreading through my body. "Since the day I met you," he said this, and cups my chin, and turns it in a way that means he was going to kiss. Before I could even think about what was going to happen, he crashed his lips onto mine, making the sparks jump around like never before. Everything I was worried about slowly faded away as my body quickly responded to the kiss by letting my mouth open, when Ace bit on my lip gently. I never thought my first kiss would be in a hospital, and especially with a hybrid. After a while, Ace pulled away so that I could breathe in fresh air. I looked over at him to see him staring at me with a look I could not recognize. He leaned his head back to the way it was, his head touching my head. "That was," Ace started to say but got interrupted by me. "Amazing," I finished off with a smile growing on my face. Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this telling story video, please do not forget to give us a like, comment, share, and subscribe.